Welcome back to another episode of Death by Bunjie, where we build arrows together. And what I mean by that is I'm going to show you how I'm building arrows, and you get an opportunity to comment on how I'm doing it wrong. And I don't care. That's fine. This is what I'm doing, okay? The first thing I'm going to do, we've talked about this, I got the dragon claws, and I am going to take this dragon claw arrow, and I'm going to strip the veins off of it because we're going to cut it off, and we don't want to have to try and cut through the insert because that would be dumb, right? You could heat this up, pull this out. I have a tool for that where it's like a soldering iron. You screw it in there and heat it up, and it would pull right out, and then we could cut this end off. And then we could preserve these veins, but I'm changing the veins anyway. I have these other Black Eagle arrow veins. These are red and white veins. I'm going to probably stick to this, use the red vein as my cock vein and do that, okay? These arrows have already been spine indexed by me. I already did videos on that. I have a spine indexer right there that I use for this purpose, and I've got the little dot on there that I put on with a marker. So I got to be clear. I'm going to have to redo that dot before I cut it off, because once I cut it off, it's gone. But there is a little dot on there with a marker, and I'll just move that up here where I can see it better and where I can maintain it, cut that inch off, and then put new veins on it as appropriate. And what we're going to do, I'm just going to do one. And before I do one, I'm going to make sure, and the reason I'm going to do that, I think my goal is to see if I like it. I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to shoot in the backyard after I get one done. I'm going to shoot them in the backyard and then decide before I cut down the rest of them. That's probably a good idea. I will shoot it, compare it to an AJ's custom arrow. I will compare it to the gifted arrow, right, from a friend of Bunjie. These are 20 inches. I'll shoot that out of there. He sent this to me suggesting that this is what he shoots out of his SWAT X1, and we're going to see if we like it. And we'll try one of these hyper bolts from good old Killer Instinct. This should shoot great out of it. What's neat about these, they do have a nock that's machined for those narrow crossbows. It isn't just the GTC with the groove cut in this way. It's got the groove cut out on the sides as well to accommodate that string. It should be better for the string. And they're lighted. They come pre-installed with lighted nocks. Love it. So we'll play around with that too. But we're going to shoot each one of them at distance. I've got the 60-yard backyard all mowed. It's mowed. It's only April, and I already started mowing. Push mowing. That's my exercise. But I got it all done, and it's going to look good. We'll get out there and shoot that this weekend. This is a tool, a vein stripper. This is a boning one. It's got a couple of real nice deer on there with drop tines. That's cool. But I'm just going to use it. It's got a little knife blade in it, and I'm just going to use it like this, if you can see that. But I'm going to just cut that off. Okay, we're just cutting off our veins. And now I think I could take this as is, put it in a SWAT X1, and still hit a bullseye at 20 yards. That's how cool these crossbows are. Every crossbow style and make and model is different. The SWAT X1 with the enclosed barrel, what that does, and I am a believer in it. Now, big asterisk, okay? Bigger. If you spine index your arrows, or if you're shooting your arrows and you tune your arrows, right? And then, we've done videos on that. If you don't understand what that is, shoot me a message, leave a comment, I'll explain it in the comments, or I'll send you a video link. Very important to understand. But if you're spine indexing your arrows, or if you otherwise understand how your arrows are flying and you're not tuning them and getting them to fly straight, I don't think this is as crucial, okay? But the barrel, the enclosed barrel of the SWAT X1, one of the things that it does, that string pushes this arrow down the barrel and out. And the barrel is so tight that arrow can't bunch up. Now, these are stiff arrows to begin with, and if you're shooting stuff like zombie slayers, they're even stiffer. So they don't bend an awful lot, but they do bend, right? I can feel that. And that arrow, with all that force, you're pulling that trigger with all that force, that's going to wad up some arrows, okay? It bunches it right up on the rail like this. Not that bad, but it does. And as it goes out, then it's got to correct. It has to stabilize in flight. That is not the archer's paradox. There are two different things. And it's kind of a pet peeve of mine when people say, well, it's the archer's paradox. It's not. Two different things. It's just the arrow flexing under the stress of inertia. That's all it is. And it wads up the arrow because it's compressing it. The arrow is actually technically even getting shorter when you pull the trigger because it's compressing it microscopically. But as it's going down range, it can correct itself. It can go back to its normal length. It can try and straighten out, and hopefully it does before it reaches its target. With the SWAT X1, that enclosed barrel, it prevents a lot of that because it won't allow that arrow to flex. The arrow has to come out of the crossbow straight. So it doesn't have to correct itself. So I don't need big old giant high blazer veins anymore like I do on the Excaliburs, for example. I love these veins, love those. Always had fun with that. I can use minuscule little veins like these Black Eagles I've chosen, and if we look, they're small like the veins chosen here, the Q2Is that were chosen by our friend of Bunjie, who sent that arrow to me. So we'll see how these fly, and then we'll compare them with a regular Dragon Claw perhaps, and see if maybe the regular Dragon Claw outperforms my arrows. In fact, I'm going to take one of these Dragon Claws, put it right over there so don't forget to use it. It's right there now. Same field points out of each one, and we're going to test them all differently. And one thing we're going to see is that regardless of weight, they're going to have a different point of impact. But we're going to measure them over and over and over, shoot them like each 3 times, and measure the point of impact for each arrow and see how consistent they are. That's what we're going to do. That's going to be fun. So, get this guy all cleaned up. You make one pass to get the majority of that vein off, and then you got glue and you got some residue and that sort of thing that we try to get off with this tool. We're going to scrape it down. I don't like to use, some people use fingernail polish remover, acetone or whatever, acetone, various chemicals on there. Black Eagle does not like the use of that, and they don't, because these are carbon arrows, and a carbon arrow is carbon fibers put together with an epoxy. Black Eagle uses a lot of epoxy, and I love their arrows, but they will tell you don't use acetone on them at all because it's working that epoxy. That's one way to break down the epoxy, so it'll make your arrows more fragile. I do want to get the rest of this residue off. I will do it with we'll do that with a little bit of a sandpaper, but you don't want to sand it too much either. Every time you sand it, you're wearing down the fibers, especially with real high-speed crossbows. Now, I'm not worried about this with the SWAT X1. I've already done this on the SWAT X1. I've done it on every crossbow that I've owned, with the exception of the Raven. But I probably wouldn't do this with the Raven. The Black Widow. Why does it keep doing that? But that Black Widow kind of scares me a little bit, right? But we'll get back to it. We'll get back to it. It's not going anywhere. At least not right now. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. Like I said, this might be a colossal mistake. I don't know. But we're going to do the best we can to shave that off. Just shaving off the rest of that residue. Not trying to whittle down the shaft any, okay? We don't want a thinner shaft or anything like that. We don't want to damage our shaft. We want to get the bulk of that glue and residue off of there just by scraping it very lightly and carefully, and then doing the same thing on the other 2 removed veins. And before I forget, I'm going to get my marker out, and I'm going to mark where that spine index is, so I don't have to go through it again. That spine indexing takes all of 2 seconds, but it's not something you want to, you don't want to have to redo things if you don't have to redo them. You can just buy these shafts, right? And if it wasn't so cheap, I would just, but I already have all these, and I'm just monkeying around here. But if I was going to do a lot of these, you can just buy the shafts, right? You can buy bare shafts, you can buy them with the insert in of your choosing and all that good stuff. Now there's my mark, okay? And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take this, and I'm going to eyeball it good, and make sure, and I can see where that vein was, so I can make sure that I'm doing this right. And I'm just going to put it in the same spot, a new dot up there. And now, once that dries, we're safe. We got 2 dots, 1 dot this one will cut off in our saw. The other thing you want to do with these, okay, this is important, is spin them and make sure it's straight. If your shaft isn't straight, you might as well throw it away. And this one looks good. So, arrow spinner, these are, I don't know, $7, $10, $15, something like that, but you should definitely have one of those. It saves a lot of time. It's just like spine indexing, saves a lot of time. But now we have an arrow that spins nice and straight, but we got a little bit of residue there, and I can't put new veins on with that residue there. You got to clean it up. Now the new veins, because of where I spine indexed this, I'm going to put the new veins. They will not be where the old veins were. They're different. I'm going to have one vein, my cock vein, right where that dot is. I'm going to put that on there. And on the SWAT X1, that dot will be facing up, and the cock vein will be facing up. On almost every other crossbow ever made, it's the reverse. It's upside down. The SWAT X1 is upside down technically, but I'm going to clean these off. So I've got there, and then here I've got some residue that I got to take care of. And to do that, real light, I'm just going to go through with the grain, so to speak. I'm just going to whittle that down a little bit more and make sure that I have that so it's finger smooth, so it doesn't feel bad. Don't try and get all of it off, because I think you're going to be sanding the shaft too much if you try and get all of it off. We just want enough so it's not interfering with our new veins. That's the key. Now, will it interfere with arrow flight? I don't think that's a problem. I'm not too worried about it. I've done this a lot of times, made a lot of arrows that flew to my satisfaction, so I'm not too worried about that. But I want to get as much of that off as possible. It's a nice looking shaft right there. It's like you wouldn't even know it had veins on it. Now, the next thing is, I've never done this. This is new. This is new and exciting. I've never done this. We're going to get our arrow. I just bought this off of Amazon a long time ago. And we'll see if we can get it out of here. Boy, yeah. Why they gotta pack stuff? Good Lord. I got a cure for that. Let's get the air. That makes a difference. Good Lord. Oh, man. These people. What in the world? What is the secret product that's in here that needs to be put in there that tight? Good Lord. No box needs to protect any contents that well. All right. All right. Okay. That's my motor. All right. There's a power supply. This is our guide, blades. Never have to pack it up again, hopefully. So these little pads go on the table I'm betting. I'm going to see if I can install this, put this together without instructions. And this looks like this is instructions. Yep, don't look at those. Put those there. An Allen wrench and 2 tiny little set screws. Looks like a Dremel tool. So back in the day when I cut up my arrows, I made Genevieve a series of arrows. And I cut down some longer pro flights that I was done with, cut them down shorter, put new inserts in them, all that good stuff for Genevieve. And I cut them down shorter, used JB Weld, used the same vein. So we were cutting, I was actually taking a 20-inch arrow, and then I put new inserts in here for her to make a 20-inch arrow, a 16.5-inch arrow for Genevieve, for her crossbow, for her Bunjie Junior, which is a micro suppressor, 355. In doing so, I used a Dremel tool, right? And if you slather enough JB Weld on there and fill in the gaps, it worked just fine. They spun straight, right? You put them in an arrow spinner, they spun just fine. She killed some nice deer with them, right? She really did. They flew perfectly out to 50 yards. So she was just using them until AJ sent us these, right? Her own special arrow. So they worked great. But people are like, oh, you're using a Dremel tool. That's awful. Well, whatever. Then you buy a professional arrow saw, a real nice arrow saw, and it's a Dremel tool. The difference is, obviously, it's going to be fixed and do a nice square job, whereas when you're eyeballing it with a Dremel tool, it's not a nice square job. I get it. I get the difference, okay? But whatever. Much ado about nothing, though, really. So, but this is nice. As long as you're doing it, get the right tools, right? Right tool for the job. My dad always used to tell me, you got to have the right tool for the job. Boy, what a difference it makes. So we're going to get this rinky-dink piece of plastic out of here. This thing looks like it's 3D printed in somebody's garage. It looks pretty low budget. It's definitely 3D printed. I'm not kidding. You see the, yeah. But here's the pieces. All right, there's that. And then this guy, that, I don't need instructions for a power supply. I got enough of those around the house. One thing I do with power supplies is I take a marker like this, which is one of those highlighted markers, and I write arrow saw on it. And that way I know what that power supply goes to, because I can tell you, I got 50 power supplies around the house, and I don't need another one that I don't know what it goes to. So I write on everything, and that way I know. Get that stupid tie off of there. Hate those things. And the motor mounts on here and looks like it's already got the screws. So, and that slides right on here. Everything is 3D printed. So, whatever. What brand? I don't even know what brand this is. Joe's Arrow Cutters. So, it's an SPG, salt, pepper, and garlic arrow cutter. And doesn't really have much of a picture on how it's supposed to go together. Kind of does. Kind of does. Which piece is that? That's this. This little dude goes on the end. That's what happens. That goes on here. And, wow. Oh, helpful. That's great. It's great. It's in Chinese. That's great. Yep. Good thing I bought it before the tariffs. The platform here that they refer to as the aluminum alloy frame, right? That aluminum alloy frame has 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches marked. We'll double check that because this thing is made in China, and it appears to be. Oh, that's just nice. Oh, jeez. I don't know if this is right, but this is a ruler that I bought, so I can use it here in the shop and lay it on stuff and measure stuff. You want to cut an inch off something, you got an exactly 1 inch, blah, blah, blah. And it's a nice firm ruler, right? And I got a bunch of them. I got them hanging everywhere. I got them in my desks and stuff like that. But I can pull it right off here, use it. And when I put it down, it is not the same as this one. That's interesting. Now, the other end of this thing is also off. So it's not exact.
It's me.
Yeah, you can come in. So check this out. This is my new arrow saw. Pretty excited about this. But check this out. So here's, it measures 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches. Mm-hmm. Check this out. They're not the same. It's off by a 1/16 of an inch.
Oh, you're right.
This one is
Can't have anything anymore.
Chinese, I guess.
Nice.
It's going to be fun. We'll make it work. Our 20-inch arrow, though, the problem is going to be this. Starts at 0, goes up to 6 inches. Over here we have 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. I have to remark this. I really just need 16.5, 19, and 20. That's what I need. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to use a ruler. Not going to use a ruler. I'm going to put my own marks on here, and I'm going to eyeball it with 20-inch arrows. How about that? And I'm not going to count the insert. Put that right there. That is a 20-inch arrow according to Wyvern Creations. That's 20 inches, okay? And I'll just use this ruler to make a nice straight line on there so it's very clear what we're talking about. That's 20 inches. I don't have to write 20 on there. I already know what it is. Now, I'm going to take this Swhacker broadhead that is very well used up, and I'm going to do the same thing with a 16.5 incher. We're going to put this right here so that we are perfect, and we are going to put a little first mark right there. Get rid of that arrow. Do the same thing here. This is 16.5. Kaboom. That is now marked. And then lastly, our AJ's arrow here. Get the head out of that. Get that out of there. Take out the Swhacker practice point, and we're just going to make ourselves a 19 incher right here, a mark for the 19 inches. And I don't need to measure beyond that. I just need to know these 3 marks. So when I use this saw, kaboom, I've got those 3 marks, which is basically an inch in from the other one. There's your 16.5, your 19, and your 20. And if I do different length arrows, I will measure it out and do it separately. Get the marker off of that, put that back where I need it for next time. Kaboom, that's there for next time. Well, we are set up outside. Nice breeze out here. Can't beat it. Got the Dunkin' Donuts just in case. Got the extension cord here all dragged out. We're going to plug this bad boy into that. We're going to plug that into there. I think it's all set up properly. But we've got the arrow rest here, and then the dragon claw runs along. We got ourselves a motor here, the on-off switch right in front of us. We can do that. I'm going to wear safety goggles just because first time doing it, I want to make sure I don't ruin myself here, but I think we'll get comfortable with this as we go along. I'm not trying to cut all the way through. In fact, I can back that off a little bit. We're just going to cut and sort of rotate the arrows, all we're going to do. I could cut this off and get rid of all the vertical bow guy nonsense out here. What do you think? Let's see how this goes. Oh, off to a rousing start. Safety glasses. See what we got here. That's a Dremel. So it occurred to me that where the camera is, you actually didn't get to see the cut. But so much for my camera abilities. But what a great relief. It actually did work. And if you look right here, we got this little piece of carbone, right, as the pig man would say, carbone. I actually could move that blade in a little bit more. But if you look in there, it does throw a lot of dust, okay? And that is not something you want to be inhaling. Look at all that carbon dust. So what you do, we drop this in here, down on the end. We drop the arrow shaft in there, and then it rests right on here. And you can see it rested. The motor's got a little room for it, the arrow to come in there. And then we just turn it like that and cut it off. I'm pretty proud of myself for my first effort. I am going to leave this set up here on the tailgate, or at least have it handy, because I might cut the rest of those shafts. I'm going to hopefully get one of these arrows put together, get in the backyard, run my test this afternoon. It is so nice out here. Let me just show you how nice it is. Look at the bees on this plum tree. I pruned it right back. Mark Borcher, are you happy or what? Mark knows better about the pruning and all this stuff, and I could have taken a little bit more out of there, but man, look at this. But look at the bees. It is overwhelmed. They are so happy. It's 50 degrees outside today, and they're saying, look, thank you, Mr. Wilson. Thank you for planting all these trees that have blossoms on them. And these aren't honeybees. Who cares about honeybees? No, these are pollinators. You understand what I'm saying? Native pollinators doing what they do best. And they aren't going to bother me one bit. They just love that tree. They're thanking me. How great is that? And I'm going to have plums before you know what hit you. And here, my family, hard at work. I'm not even doing the hard at work stuff. My daughter put it in her new fish pond. Right? I get to stay out here and play with arrows, and they're doing all the hard work. I think they're on to me. But anyway, nice new pond we're putting in there, taking out the old liner. I'll get you some videos of that stuff too. But they're doing all that hard work. I get to take advantage of the lawn that I mowed and shoot crossbow arrows over it. I got the better end of the bargain, I'm thinking. Oh yeah, that worked well. Worked like a champ. Now I want to show you I'm not sure if it'll show you or not, but look how clean that cut is. It is gorgeous. It is beautiful. It is perfect. I've measured this arrow. It is precisely, and I mean precisely 19 inches in length once you account for the insert. You take that insert out, it would be exactly a 19-inch long shaft. What more do you want? I have in my hands, ladies and gentlemen, a tool I have been itching to use for a long time here. Burt Coyote Lumenoks, right? Can't tell you enough how much I like the Burt Coyote Lumenoks. It's all I use, and I am frustrated whenever I encounter a crossbow that doesn't like the Burt Coyote Lumenok. What do you got against the Burt Coyote Lumenok? It is simple, pure perfection. It is the best knock out there, in my opinion, and it's an opinion. It's an opinion, that's all it is. But nonetheless, I really like them. I got them figured out. I got them, so they work perfectly for me on all my crossbows. We use them on the Excalibur, the old Bunjie, the Axiom from 2010. We use them on Genevieve's micro suppressor, a 2015 or so 355, right? Micro suppressor Excalibur. We use them on the Scorpion, right? The slick black Cadillac. Love that crossbow. It really does not like the Lumenoks as well, and I haven't played enough with it, but it likes a snap-on knock. The Raven, the Black Widow, and if you're wondering why the lights flicker every time I talk about the Black Widow, it's because it makes me a little uncomfortable, right? It's creepy. It's creepy because it's a lot more crossbow than I am used to. And that's just me, right? It's a great crossbow. It's a phenomenal piece of equipment. Just a little bit beyond what I want to get involved in just yet, especially when I have right here the Enforcer. Yes, put a Burris Oracle X on there, and we're going to be all set. We'll have 3 SWAT X1s up and running before we get even to Spring Gobbler at the rate we're going. So we're going to be doing pretty good. But that's kind of my point. Burt Coyote Lumenoks, I love them. They work well with all my crossbows. The SWAT X1s love them. And I'm going to keep shooting crossbows for the time being that use Burt Coyote Lumenoks. I had that problem last year with the Raven, and Burt Coyote, the company, reached out to me. They took care of me. I love those people. I really do. I've been touting the Burt Coyote Lumenok for a long time. 15% off your order off lumenok.com anytime. Just get on there, log on, and use coupon code Bunjie, B-U-N-J-I-E. And you can even say it that way. You can say it when you type it in. You can say Bunjie, right? You can do that, and it's pretty cool. But you still get 15% off either way. It doesn't change the amount. 15% off any time of the year. That's pretty cool. They're running a sale right now. It's like 20% off. So if you use their coupon code, get 20% off. But then go back to using the 15% off as soon as you're done with that. So this is an arrow squaring tool. This is called the Fletched Arrow Squaring Tool. Arrow shaft prep by Lumenok, right? And what you do is you take this guy and you mount it on the crossbow workbench. One of these things from Lumenok, and it has new pads. You can take the screws out of here, right? Take the screws out, put these new pads in, freshen it up. You always got a nice fresh little set of pads on here. But then I'm going to mount this on the bench once I find a place to do it and finish cleaning up this area. But we'll mount it on the bench somewhere where we can get arrows in there, in and out real quick. And before I go hunting, I'll just take my arrows out, and it'll be mounted there like this, and I'll just go zip, 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 clean up, blow it out like that, put the Lumenok back in, ready to go hunt. Kaboom. So that is something I've been itching to use and show you. I have not been able to show you this because I really haven't had the arrow saw out yet. And so I finally got working on this stuff. This has been an exciting little process. I hope you're enjoying these videos. I know that they are not the thorough, polished videos that I make all the time and all that fun stuff. We will have plenty more of those coming in the future. But I'm really proud of this, the fact that I've cut this arrow back. It is now, friends of Bunjie, time to fletch this arrow, right? We can't go hunting like this. Maybe we could, but we're not gonna. We're gonna see if we can fletch this, put these little veiny poos on there, and once we do that, then and only then, we'll be ready to take to the 60-yard backyard and see what the yet unnamed SWAT X1 can do with its new arrows. All hail Bunjie.